guys, so we're gonna teach you the basics of bowling.
Let's get to it. So before we get started, there's a couple of vocabulary terms we're gonna teach you so that you know what you're talking about as you step up on the lane. So first vocabulary word is lane. This is the lane. They're all numbered throughout the bowling alley. This is your spot for you to bowl so that you throw the ball down that way and it'll hit the pins in those lanes, hopefully. Next up, the ball return and a ball in general. So this is the ball return. This is a nice machine that brings your ball back from the ends of the lane up to here. All the balls will roll around here and then you just pick up yours as you need it. Next, a little bit down the lane, you see what we call the gutters. These are the two little hole lanes that are on either side of the lane. If your ball doesn't stay on the lane, it'll fall into the gutter and then you won't be able to knock down any pins. You don't want to do that. At the end of the lane, you see the actual pins. There's 10 of them lined up in a kind of triangle formation. You want to hit down as many as you can. Once you knock the pins down, the pin setter will come down. It'll sweep away any pins you knocked down on your first ball, and then after your second turn, it'll reset a whole count of 10 pins. Up closer, you see the yellow and the red line. That's the foul line. You don't want to step over that because then you might slip and fall because the lanes tend to be oiled. If you do go over the foul line, even if you get a strike, none of your pins are going to count. You can't see, they're not up right now, but you can play with bumpers. They would come up right between the gutter and the actual lane so that your ball doesn't fall into the gutter. They're good for beginner bowlers just trying to get the hang of keeping the ball on the lane and hitting the pins and stuff, but as you get better, you don't play with the bumpers. It makes it more competitive and more professional.
Okay guys, so there's two different kinds of bowling balls. There's the custom ball and the house ball, and since you're a beginner, I presume, you'll be using the house ball, which will be found on different racks in the bowling alley with different weights. And remember that the heavier weight, the more, it won't reflect the pins, so you'll hit down more pins. But yeah, more pin action. And, but if you can't lift that weight, don't strain yourself. Go with what you can carry. So now the difference between the house ball and the custom ball is that the custom ball is fitted to your fingers, your thumb, your middle, and your ring finger. I always get confused with the fingers. And they also have fingertips there so that it fits in, you know, right. And so yeah, that's the differences.
Before you even step up to take your turn, the first thing you want to do is check both lanes to the left and the right of you and make sure no one's standing there waiting to take their turn. This is called bowling courtesy, and it's just so that you going right next to someone doesn't throw them off, or someone going next to you doesn't throw you off, because if you see something going on in your peripheral vision, it might mess up your own shot.
Alright, so you're ready to go bowl. Now for picking up the ball, you gotta pick it up with two hands. So pick it up from the rack, two hands, all right? You hold the ball, you got the holes there, and you're gonna put your middle finger and your ring finger in first, and then you're gonna put your thumb in. And when you hold it next to you, you gotta make sure that your thumb is pointing to the pin straight. And you're gonna hold it off to the side like this.
Once you've checked your bowling courtesy and made sure no one's going on the left or right side of you, it's finally your turn, and you can now line yourself up to take your shot. On the approach, there are dots to help you line up so that if you're a righty, your right shoulder is lined up with your mark on the lane. My mark on the lane is the second arrow on the right side, so I try to line my left foot up with the left side dots on the approach.
So the next steps to your approach are the steps. And as a beginner, you're going to take 4 steps. Sometimes you can do 5, but we're going to begin with 4 first. You're going to start, if you're righty, with your right leg, and if you're lefty, with your left leg, and you're going to go from there. Right, left, right, right, left, right.
So you might think there's nothing important about stepping up to the foul line and throwing the ball down the lane, but actually your arm swing is one of the most important things in your form. So as you're swinging the ball back, you first want to make sure that the leg next to the arm you're swinging is out of the way. This way you have a clear path to go back and forth. Now with your ball in your hand, you want to make sure you swing the ball straight back as high up as you can get it, because that way it gives you a bit more momentum as you come back up. And the most important thing is swing back straight. If you swing on an angle, when you bring the ball forward, it's gonna go in that angle and not go the way you want it to. And then you're gonna have to compensate your throw for that. So if you swing backwards this way, your ball is going to go straight that way and probably into the gutter, which isn't any good. So you wanna make sure you come straight back and straight up. This way your ball goes exactly where you want it to and you're set. Another thing is you wanna make sure as you swing back, you don't pull the ball behind your back. Because that way, when you come back up, you're gonna be jerking your arm around a bit to compensate for that offish angle. And then the ball's just gonna go all over the place too. So just remember, come back straight, come up straight.
Alright guys, so this is the last part of your delivery or approach, and it's called the stroke, and that means it's when your arm and your hand release the ball onto the lane. Now what you want to make sure is that when you release the ball, your thumb is still pointing up after you release it. So, for example, once the ball is released, make sure your thumb is pointing up. That keeps the ball on its straight path where you aimed, and so it should hit your mark. Okay guys, so reading the scoreboard after you take a shot. Now, the boxes on the top, there's 10, and they're called frames. And each frame you have different numbers that are going to pop up, and she's going to explain that. And the basic symbols, though, you'll see is an X, which will mean strike, and a slash, right?
Yeah.
Slash for spare.
Alright, so in each frame box, the number of pins you get will be recorded. And you'll see 2 numbers in each box if you take 2 turns. This way it shows how many pins you knock down on each turn. If you don't knock all 10 down, that's called an open frame. You didn't get all of them down. But if you do get all of them down, in your second shot, you'll see a number and a slash. So, as Liz explained, that's your spare. And then in the next frame, your score will depend on what your next throw is. And that will fill out your total score for the frame with the spare. You only take 1 turn though if you get a strike, which means you knock all pins down on your first shot. And then you'll see an X there, and you want to see X's. The more X's in a row you see, the better your score will be. So first and foremost on your list of bowling equipment is obviously your bowling ball. So this one is custom drilled, which means it's drilled to fit my finger span and my finger size. So I've got my fingertips from my middle and my ring finger, my thumb hole, and that's about it. Some bowlers actually have 2 bowling balls, a strike ball and a spare ball. So they would use their strike ball for their first throw, and then if they leave any pins up, they would use their spare ball to hit the other pins that they left. Next up, your ball cover. As you're taking your ball in and out of your bag, you want to make sure that your ball is protected. So you just take the cover, roll your ball into it, and then it's safe to put in your bag. It's a little extra cushion in case things get bumped around, and it also keeps your ball clean and safe. Next up, we have these little powder bags that are called rosin bags. Now, as the game goes on, your ball picks up oil from the lane. You might be eating, who knows, and your hands will start to get slippery. So what the rosin bag does, you just toss it around in your hands a couple times, and the powder will come out onto your hands so that they're less slippery. You also have shoe covers, because as you probably know, bowling requires you to wear shoes that you wouldn't wear outside. You're not supposed to go outside with your bowling shoes, because then you can slip and stuff on the approach. But in the event that you do need to go outside and don't have time to change your shoes back, you have shoe covers. You just slip them on over your bowling shoes and you are safe to walk outside.
Some other equipment you could have if you want to go pro or just be in a league is your own bowling shoes, and you can get it at a sports store like Dick's Sports Good, and you find your size, and there you go, you got bowling shoes. Now, you mentioned about keeping your hands straight, and what you can get to help you with that, so you don't move around, is wrist guard. Alright. So now your hand should keep straight on that stroke. Alright. Sometimes the lanes can be super oily, so you gotta clean your ball so it doesn't move around. And what you could use is cleaner. You spray it onto the ball, you know, and then you wipe it with a nice cloth. And you should wipe off all the oil so your ball should be good to go. Now, if you have a bowling ball, you can get like a single bag or a double bag. And what I have is a double bowling bag. It could be a duffel or you could use wheels. I recommend getting the wheels because balls can be pretty heavy with your shoes and everything else you want to put in the bag.
Next time you go out with your friends, hopefully you'll be able to teach them a thing or two, and maybe you guys will want to